Okay, good morning again, and what we will do today is we will talk about why we should start a startup. We will cover the main mistakes of the startup, and you will find lots of things most of you already written as an assignment, and most of them actually will correlate with what we will see today, but some of those will be like very opposite. So that will be interesting, because for me it was very interesting to read what you wrote out there. So I hope you also could read your classmates' work, and I'm still looking forward to see your comments, because this is essentially important. So you comment each of your groups assignments, both individual and team, because you will have to, and about the team group assignments we will also talk, because this is highly essential that you comment your team assignments and understand what kind of misunderstanding or what kind of interpretation they have and what kind of interpretation you have, so we will get the common picture of that. So please do that. This is a part of the course, and this is part of the not just to get the credits, but to learn something from this course. Then we will talk about one of my favorite topics. It's actually this is one of my favorite classes, because it covers two very essential topics, like what kind of characteristics I should have to be successful in the entrepreneurship, and why should I actually start the startup? Because this is like this, I believe, is the core. Like if you do this for the wrong reasons, you're likely to go down. Before the class we discussed Elon Musk, and I saw that someone mentioned him as a good example of like inspirational example of his interviews as well, and he certainly was driven by the right reasons to start his startups. And I also want to start with our today special guest. He was recorded for us, and shortly after his short presentation. Yeah, his name is Steve Jobs. Probably some of you have seen him. And I will tell you the reasons I wanted to show you this video. I don't know, probably some of you have seen it already, but let's watch.
No, I've actually always found something to be very true, which is most people don't get those experiences because they never ask. I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I always call them up. I called up, this will date me, but I called up Bill Hewlett when I was 12 years old, and he lived in Palo Alto. His number was still in the phone book. And he answered the phone himself. He said, yes? He said, hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student in high school, and I want to build a frequency counter. And I was wondering if you had any spare parts I could have. And he laughed, and he gave me the spare parts to build this frequency counter, and he gave me a job that summer in Hewlett-Packard, working on the assembly line, putting nuts and bolts together on frequency counters. He got me a job in the place that built them. And I was in heaven. And I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called. I just asked. And when people ask me, I try to be as responsive, to pay that debt of gratitude back. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn, with people on the phone, with starting a company, with whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
Yeah, so what he was, what the main topic he was speaking about?
Brave.
Brave.
To be brave.
To be brave. What else?
Be afraid of failing.
What example he gave here?
Ask people, don't be afraid.
Yes. That was actually the reason I showed it because he called Hewlett Packard himself, and Hewlett Packard was the man who actually invented the company. Which company Hewlett Packard invented? Well, HP, exactly. Hewlett Packard. 5 points there. Yeah, and it's the same as I would call myself to Steve Jobs and say, well, I want to design a new phone, so if I don't very much satisfied with your phone, so could you give me spare parts? And he was brave enough to do that. But the reason I showed that people are actually don't they hesitate to ask, and they hesitate to call or ask if something unclear, and this is so common. So like and often I see like people who are in very high position and they are very much open, so just keep asking and never be afraid of asking things. And I have my own interest in that, so please, if something unclear about the science, if you see that there are lots of repetition in questions, like so just drop me a message and ask if something unclear, or drop a message in the group, preferably in the group, because that's how everyone will see this. And there have been only one person who asked questions, so so far. So please do that. So I will make sure that I will respond, and probably your peers as well will respond, because probably they already found out the answer. So like, but in general, life advice. So keep asking. If something unclear, find the person who can be the right person. No matter, it doesn't matter how high you think this person is. Just drop him a message and then send a kind reminder if he doesn't reply, or she. So, but be persuasive on that, and we will talk on that in a minute. So, before we start the class, I want you to, so we have how many? 3 teams, right? So you're in the one team, right? All three of you. So another team, so we've got 3 teams. You will have to do our introduction game again. But today you will have to, instead of introducing yourself, you will have to introduce what problem you're solving. So you will have to say what kind of problem you're solving. You will have to say what kind of people you're solving this problem, and what kind of yeah. So those 2 questions: what kind of problem you solve, and what kind of customers you may have or you see in your imagination to have this kind of problem. Since there are 3 of you, so you will have to introduce each of you in the group, and then you will have to introduce this team. This team will have to introduce this team, and this team will have to introduce yours. So you will not repeat each other. You will have 3 minutes to prepare, or 5 minutes to prepare, and minutes to describe one another teams. Everything's clear? Any questions? No? So yeah, so let's start.